All right, a little bit of breaking news in case you missed it. The Red Sox are being investigated after being accused of using replay to steal signals because, of course, this stuff with these Boston sports fans, man, these Boston teams, bunch of cheaters. Do I sound like a bitter New York sports fan, Brady? I feel like at this point I might need to chill with it.
What's your opinion on Houston fans?
There's not a lot there, but just these Boston sports teams cheating left and right. All right, joining me now, good friend of the program. It's been a little while. It's always fun to catch up with my guy, though. Petros Papadakis, back on the drive in Salt Lake. Petros, what's up, man?
Hello, Spence. How are you?
Doing well, buddy. So, do all teams from Boston cheat? Help me out here.
No, but the fans are really annoying. I mean, cheating and what Bill Belichick does as far as attention to detail and bending the rules, I think are a little bit different. But, that's just me and you arguing about semantics. But Boston people used to be kind of like, when I was growing up, really hard luck fans. They lost Wade Boggs. They had the curse of the Bambino. They had the Irving Fryer was like the best Patriot, or Steve Grogan. I mean, the Patriots were one of the worst teams year in and year out almost. And then suddenly here comes Tom Brady and here comes Kurt Schilling and Manny and Big Papi. And it really changed the attitude from like a hard luck city that everybody was rooting for to a city that everybody despised and hated its fans. So it is kind of funny how that's changed. And it changed in my lifetime of being a sports guy, which is kind of weird. But, yeah, Boston sucks, man. And, remember the Dodgers are the ones that lost both the World Series to the teams that are accused of cheating. And, that's a bitter pill to swallow, which was already super bitter here in Los Angeles because the Dodgers are our most popular team.
Sure.
Probably because of our gigantic Latino population, but the Dodgers are very special to the city, and they haven't won since '88. And people actually go to Dodger games, and they're there in person, from all over the city, as opposed to the NBA, which has kind of priced people out a long time ago. So it hurts here in LA too. That's all I'm saying, Spence.
I hear you. And while we're on this, I want to get your take on how we started the show, and that is, athletes who retire, quote, the right way, which I think is somewhat strange that we do this, but, Tom Brady is talking about continuing to play. I just think it would be weird to see him in, with the Chargers or with the Dolphins winning 6 games a year and getting his head smashed in. But at the same time, I think it's weird that we tell these guys when they should retire. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And, there's two things that come to my head immediately when you just bring up the especially in the world of football, when you bring up the subject of retirement. One thing that I learned as a young player is it really doesn't matter who you are. Football is not going to end pretty for 99% of the people that play. I mean, you're not going to be happy with the way your career ended or who you were when it ended. I mean, you think about Dan Marino, you think about O.J. Simpson in a 49er uniform, I mean, for every Michael Strahan and Jerome Bettis and John Elway, there's like 40,000 other guys. You know what I'm saying? So that's number one. So I never expect it to be perfect, even for an icon. And, then you have your other examples of like your Peyton Manning going to Denver and winning Super Bowls, and even Joe Montana going to the Chiefs and leading them to the playoffs, which was pretty cool, if you remember that.
Yep.
Those are good stories, and also you can't tell somebody when and where to stop playing football. You just can't, because they're already stupid for playing, right? It's kind of like catch-22. I mean, we were all idiots to play football and think it's cool to put on a plastic outfit and run into another guy really hard and celebrate yourself for it. But that's our culture, and there's a lot of great stuff that's revealed in the competition part of it. So, when somebody's out there doing it at that high of a level for that long, it's really hard to sit there and point your finger and say, no, you're done. I just don't like to do that. So I don't expect it to end pretty, and I wouldn't tell anybody when or how to retire. The Chargers need him. I mean, if you think about the way their story has been and how negative it has been toward them being in Los Angeles, they're going to move into that new stadium. They have seats to sell. They could change their story, obviously leaving a still warm Phillip Rivers carcass in the interim. But the Chargers could do this, and it would be pretty interesting, at least until the games actually started, like you said.
Petros Papadakis is with us, good friend of the program, co-host of Petros and Money. Also, you can see him on the college football broadcast on Fox. And let's transition, Petros, to college football. I want to talk some Pac-12 with you. When last we spoke, we talked a lot about Clay Helton and USC, and you were very, very honest and upfront about your feelings about him and the program. Since then, he has been retained. But I wanted to get your thoughts on the fact that so when they retained him, I went, okay, well, we'll see. And then a couple weeks later, the recruiting rankings came out, and you and I both know sometimes that's ridiculous. They don't mean a whole lot. But USC was last in the Pac-12. But Petros, the thing that was crazy to me is your Trojans didn't sign one player out of the top 30 in California, man. How does that happen?
Yeah, I used to not pay attention at all to recruiting ever when it came to USC especially, because it's always the top 5 class. So it doesn't, right? I mean, it was never not the top 5 class. And I've seen plenty of 5-stars blow up and be terrible. And I've seen a lot of, 1-star, 2-star guys, become great players for years. Obviously, all those stories are out there.
Right.
But in bulk, there's a reason that Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Ohio State, USC, perennially have the best recruiting class in the country. That's just the way it is. So that is a disturbing thing. I think it should be, at least, for the situation at USC. I don't dislike Clay Helton. I just think his coaching level is more of a Memphis as opposed to USC, and it's been proven over and over again. And really, at this point, it's much more on the administration themselves and the lifers in the athletic department who have fought tooth and nail to keep their own control of the program. I mean, from what I understood, Spence, is USC went pretty far down the road with guys like Bob Stoops especially, and they balked when it came to full control of the program, basically. And I don't know who you think you are if you're USC and you're trying to hire a guy like Bob Stoops or Urban Meyer, and you don't give that guy full control of the program. It still feels like they're playing checkers when everybody else is playing chess, and it's also they can keep control of the football program. I mean, that's why Clay Helton is in place. And it's become really frustrating, I think, for a lot of people here, because most people expected USC to make a change when they hired a new athletic director, Mike Bone, who had the job in Cincinnati and Colorado before that. And basically they gave Mike Bone a few $1 million to fall on the sword and rehire Clay Helton. Well, they didn't have to pay that guy to do that. They could have hired somebody from within, like they always do, to rehire Clay Helton and keep everybody who's caused all this trouble in charge. So that part of it makes it frustrating because, it's going to be a whole nother year of rhetoric and hype videos and, hey, look at the D coordinator or special teams coordinator that they hired, when clearly that's not the issue with USC football. It's the head coach, and it's glaring.
When you think about the Utes as we transition over to the team here in Salt Lake, Petros, I still think it was a good year. The problem with college football is, there are only a few teams. When it comes to analyzing if it was a good year, there's only one team that wins it all, and then everybody else is in line. There has to be a different way to analyze the season. I do think it was a good year for Utah, but they did face plant in the Pac-12 championship game, and then also the Alamo Bowl, which I don't know, don't put a lot of stock in that. when you analyze this year for Utah, and then what comes to mind then? Your thoughts on the Pac-12 championship game, since we haven't spoken to you since then.
Well, I thought they had a great year, but like you, I thought they laid an A. They clearly didn't play well at the end of the year, and they had it rolling for a long time. And it is hard to get a college football team up and rolling week in and week out. And they had some hard luck and bad decisions against USC, and a game that they probably could have and should have won. And the rest of the season was like a cakewalk. I mean, they really dismantled people. They had to come back up in Seattle, but the one thing they did differently this year that really set them apart, I thought, was they kept the quarterback, Huntley, and they kept Moss healthy. And obviously the DBs and the defense, kept bringing it and had a great year, but it just fell apart in the postseason. And I think you're right. I think you still characterize it as it is an elite year, as another stepping stone for a great program, and obviously a place that players want to play and people are going to get drafted from and people are going to win awards like Tyler Huntley did. But at the same time, you can't turn your back on the disappointment of the way things happened at the end of the year. And I understand the whole Alamo Bowl thing. Texas had something to prove. They had a terrible year. They just had their coordinators fired. Tom Herman, I believe, is a good coach. You're playing in Texas. That's, like you say, pretty excusable or understandable. The Pac-12 championship game was where I expected the Utes to have their hair on fire and run out of that tunnel in the Denim Bowl up in Santa Clara and really make a better game of that. Maybe not win it, because we saw Oregon playing very well and very talented football team with a tenured quarterback just like the Utes. But I expected them to play better, especially because you were there, I think. I mean, with the bitterness of the way the game ended against Washington the previous year, right? Remember how mad Whittingham was at the end with a PI call that wasn't called and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought that they would, especially with the way it went the previous year, and here Moss is healthy for this game, and here Huntley's healthy, I thought they'd play a lot better. And that's obviously something they're disappointed about, but it doesn't take away from the fact that Utah's one of the premier programs on the West Coast, and they're doing really good things on both sides of the ball. And I'm interested to see how Huntley and Moss are replaced on the offense going forward, and if they can keep that dominance going against a lot of their conference opponents like they did last year.
Yeah, I'm just going through your Twitter timeline. Are you okay? Are you healthy? I'm seeing this picture of you. It looks like you had surgery or something. Everything good with you?
No, what's wrong with you? That's a CPAP mask, brother.
Oh.
I sleep with a CPAP because I'm a mouth breather.
Okay.
Apnea.
All right.
So
okay.
that thing is keeping me alive as opposed to, no. It's just every once in a while I show the people a CPAP picture to encourage men to take care of their sleep apnea.
Love it. Okay. All right. Good. My heart started to beat a little quick. I'm glad you're good, man. Hey, thanks for the time.
No, I'm a mess. I'm a complete mess, but the mask is a good thing.
Right on, brother. Hey, thanks for the time today. We always appreciate it. Happy New Year to you. Be well. We'll chat again soon, okay?
Same to you, brother. Have a good one.
Right on.